Episode 2 of the Pats Pals podcast. Welcome. Thank you very much for listening to us last week. Pretty good reaction, I think, we got last week on episode 1 of Pats Pals. My name is Shane,
My name's Skye.
and welcome into this week's episode. Coming to you on a Saturday. I know last week we did it on a Thursday, and we were hoping to do something kind of similar this week, and then things kind of got off the rails. So here we are on a Saturday. I don't know, to what point do we start getting into a rhythm where it's just a full part of our routine of the week? Is during the season? What point do we start getting into a rhythm with things, Guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're in the early week 1 to 4, right? We're trying to find our identity, trying to gauge what we're going to do going forward. But like you said, after the really warm reception of last week, obviously that's really nice to everyone who's listened and supported. Here we are for week 2. So I feel like we've come off of a close 2017 week 1 win. And let's hope that this episode's so amazing that it's a massive blowout.
Massive blow. I do appreciate, I would say, in terms of the viewership and the reaction we got, it's probably more than I expected, because the world doesn't need another sports podcast, as I said last week. And then when people start doing things, they're like, again. But no, I think it was quite good. Skye, by the way, last week at least I wore a jersey. This week I'm not wearing a jersey. I'm just in like an old Irish NFL show T-shirt. But Skye this week is consistently keeps bringing the drip. This time he's in, for a podcast listeners who can't see, he's in this sort of number 12 shirt, has the logo for Super Bowl 36.
Why isn't? Oh, here we go.
34. 34. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's the Jacksonville one against the Eagles. So there's a nice bit of a Reebok. When anybody ever wears something made by Reebok, it's proper 2000s vibes. Does anybody wear any Reebok jerseys or kits nowadays? It seems to just
I feel
be
like they've
gone.
died out. But yeah, for anyone who couldn't see, then obviously I was doing the Eagles celebration. We didn't get to do that the second time around, but a bit of a good old Vrabel. The whole team were doing it though. Everyone was mocking the Eagles in that one. But yeah, this is actually, I think, Shane, from well, obviously because Brady the GOAT and didn't really have to turn up to many Pro Bowls, but I think it's actually technically like a Pro Bowl jersey. But I just loved that. Well, we don't have it as much in football, but the badge in the center, the blue and the white. And it's a good memory of when we were good, which is what we're hoping we'll get back to.
Yeah, I know. And the purpose of this episode, by the way, was going through the Patriots schedule and doing the win-loss game. So we'll get on to that later on. Interesting one though. This week, like I said, busy week. We're doing this on a Saturday. I went out to a bar on Thursday night, and it's funny because we used to have this thing with me and my mates that we grew up with, that we go to this bar locally to us on a Thursday night, and we may, or at the time, statute of limitations, guys, but at the time we may have been like a year or two south of the border when it comes to how old you should be whilst drinking
Down
in a bar like
Mexico
that.
way.
Well, no, sorry. I feel like every time I say south of the border of Mexico way, it just makes you think of that Soprano scene when
That's exactly
yeah,
where it's going.
I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. I meant like we were like a little bit too young to be going to the bar drinking, not
South of the border of Mexico way.
such a good
Sorry.
program.
What a
But
show.
anyway, we used to have this tradition to go down on a Thursday night, and we haven't done it in years. And we came back, and the first thing we sat down, I was sitting down with the lads, and we're all in our mid-20s. And when someone turns around and goes, "Who's that fella you're doing the new podcast with now?" So that's Skye. Did he say he was 34? He looks 12.
That's why I think the Tash is here to stay. It's getting better reception as well. Not as good as episode 1, but it's getting there.
Does the Tash mean that people stop asking you for ID when you try to buy beer in Tesco?
I definitely haven't been getting asked less for ID, but I was buying some clothes yesterday during my lunch break, and the lady in the shop said to me, "Oh, just put your birthday down, like 2000 or whatever year." And I was like, "I think I'm like 25. Okay, I'll take that." I was like, "No, it's 91 actually." She was like, "Oh, okay."
I love if she went straight for 2000. Not like if she had like 99, then at least then you're in the same century.
Because no one in my head is still born from 2000 onwards. You know what I mean? Like it's still, I struggle to comprehend that. Maybe that's a early 90s baby thing, but
See, I was born in 99. My brother was born in the early 2000s, and I still can't comprehend the people who were born in the early 2000s, let alone the late 2000s. 18-year-olds now are born in 2007. It's ridiculous.
After the 06 World Cup with
I
France.
know.
What?
I know. Zinedine Zidane headbutted Marco Materazzi before people who are now legally able to drink are born. That's ridiculous.
I need a drink now, but
oh god, 11:47 on Saturday, and Skye is already right. Lads, Jesus. Let's crack into this, I guess, before we get into. I don't know if you saw, by the way, Chris Brockman, who I think both of us had a chance to speak to in New Orleans,
Yes. What a
uh,
guy.
of of Rich Eisen show fame. Great guy, was really open to come over and talk to us. Do you want to take a guess as to what his Patriots record was when he did the win-loss game in the Rich Eisen show this week?
Do you know what? Because I know I've been saying it's been on my list to watch, but the thing is, from meeting him, he's such a optimistic Patriots fan. I think that's part of his. I think he genuinely is. I don't think it's just for show, right? I love it.
Mm.
Oh, 11 wins.
Yes,
11
yeah, he has him at 11-6. A
I
14.
love Chris Brockman. What a guy.
I don't know. I said to touch on what we talked on the end of last week, right? Like you were what we the last thing we said last week, and this is kind of leading into what we're doing now. Is you were very optimistic as to what the Patriots are capable of doing this year. You mentioned the schedule, and we'll get on to that for a second. But my main thing for the last while has been like, lads, calm down for a second. We need to install a new offense. It takes time to build defense. We need offensive line to work, even though we've done some really good things in the offseason. Why is everyone assuming that we're going to be in the playoffs this year? And then we have a lot of people, more people are in your camp, Skye. More people are
Yeah.
looking at this year and thinking this is a real opportunity.
It's the second easiest schedule, and obviously when you bring in, no disrespect to Gerard Mayo, but when you upgrade as a head coach with a guy who's made an AFC Championship game and also been part of, the original dynasty, I think that's where the optimism comes from. And also, let's put it, truthfully, a little bit of entitlement as well, right? Not just Boston sports, but also when you've won that many Lombardis, you think, well, we can't be that bad for that long. But and I already said this last week, take it as a Manchester United fan. We could be, but I just hope not.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure there's a lot of like Dallas Cowboys fans as well, and a lot of other fan groups to sort of see.
Oh, we don't want to become them. Oh, no.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, like, at what point in the Patriots arc, if, for example, we don't end up winning Super Bowls in the next 10 years, I'm not saying we won't, but I mean, if what point do we start just becoming sort of has-beens and wannabe men? Because like even the fact that a lot of the people who are in the coaching staff and a lot of like the
Yeah.
selection for Gerard Mayo, the selection for Mike Vrabel, it's always trying to chase that Patriot way, which only worked so far. Anytime the Patriots way has been tried to be reconstructed anywhere, in New England post Tom Brady, and in Las Vegas, for example, when Josh McDaniel was over there, it hasn't worked because you need Tom Brady and Bill Belichick both in there to make it happen. So that's where I come from. I'm coming at it from a sort of naturally pessimistic view, and you're
Voice of
definitely the
reason.
optimist.
Yeah.
Is that another Rich Eisen reference? He has the voice of
Yeah.
reason. He capitalized already. My God, great show though. Great show. So I have my pen and paper out. I'm going to keep score on this because we're going to go week by week, how many wins we're going to get. So what color pen do you want? Red, blue, green, or black? When I'm marking down your
red.
score. Red?
Yeah.
Why? I suppose I'll go blue then. Is that red because you had the England flag dyed in your hair?
No, England, United, I mean, this is an obvious thing as a Pats fan, right? But it is the best jersey, the throwback red jersey.
Oh, by a mile. The boss, and even the old Patriot Pat thing,
Patriot. Yeah.
And there's something so Boston about that. Like I was, speaking of jerseys, by the way, I don't know if you've seen the new Red Sox one. The Red Sox played the Yankees last night. Great win in 10 innings. Kept Aaron Judge quiet for most of the game, which is always nice because he's on a generational run for the Yankees right now.
I've got a bad confession, Shane. I don't know if I should be saying this on our new Patriots podcast. Are you ready?
You don't care about baseball.
No, I've drunkenly agreed on Wednesday night that I would potentially root for the Phillies.
The Phillies? Why?
Because we were in Passynook Avenue, the bar, and I was with a friend of mine who's a Phillies fan, and they were like, "Oh, so you're a Pats fan?" We're talking about Raptors and all different sports. I was saying about San Jose Sharks. Like, wow, it's very wide across America. I was like, well, Patriots have always been number one, but didn't, and they won't go to all the reasons as to why. It's like, oh, we might as well just pick the Phillies, and they won 8-0 last night. And I woke up and I was like, why was I even checking the score? But my friend in Milwaukee will be very upset that I've not gone for the Brewers. But I'm not saying I'm locked in. I'm just saying I've made a potential commitment.
A potential commitment. What is this? Are you like a college recruit sort of selecting what college you're going to be at? It's like, I've made a commitment and I'm going to visit University of Michigan, but I could be playing for Tennessee.
I tell
What
you,
is this?
I tell you why I do. Will always, as much as I don't follow baseball, I will always have a soft spot for the Red Sox. Though, is because there was a scene in Lost, which is probably my favorite. Well, obviously not the best show of all time, but one of my favorites. It's obviously nowhere near as good as Sopranos or The Wire, but there's a scene with spoiler alert, Jack Shepherd, when he's locked on the island, he always says, "Oh, the Red Sox will never win the World Series," and it shows was it '04,
Yeah.
around '04, yeah, and there's the big comeback, and he's crying because he misses his dad, and I was like, damn, and obviously that was the year getting into the Patriots, so I should have just been in then from the start.
There is definitely another episode, and we won't do it now, on just Boston sports in general, because we forget that pre Patriots winning in 2002, Boston sports went on a bit of a dry run. The Celtics were the only
Yeah,
team that were winning consistently. The Bruins didn't do a whole lot. They had history, but weren't going anywhere. No one cared about the Patriots. They were the fourth most popular team in the
yeah,
Boston area, and everybody loved the Red Sox, but they just couldn't get over their curse. I mean, the way they blew the 1986 World Series against the Mets always seems to sting in the memory, even now, after winning
yeah.
for them. So I think people forget that there's that aspect of Boston sports, whereas now, obviously it is very much title town.
Look at
Another one as
that.
well.
Another episode.
Another one as well. I want to dig in on. I don't get why people support different like teams from different parts of America in different
Oh
sports.
no.
And and,
You
and
got
I'm,
me here.
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you on this. I accept one, right? If you decide to be like 3-1, like 3 Boston and maybe like the Toronto Raptors, for example, because I know you're a fan of those guys. Okay,
Mm.
I semi accept that. But I was talking to Andy Davis, a fan of the show, by the way. I believe he was chatting in. And I was like, well, I'm assuming you want the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup because the Florida Panthers are a Miami team. He's a big
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins fan. No, he wants the Oilers to win. He's an Oilers fan. They're in fucking Canada. They're a million miles away from Miami. And I think he has different
Is he a
teams. And
Gretzky fan or something?
I don't know, but he said he has family over there.
Or Craig David. It's McDavid.
Craig David. It's Connor McDavid as well.
No, yeah, not even Craig. Well,
oh my god.
uh,
There's definitely there's also another bullshit episode about people's names always get mixed up. But just like, I'd be interested in what people say. You can comment in, you can email
yeah.
into us as well about your opinions on that, because
Especially when you're not from an area, right? Like, so it's funny you mentioned the Panthers. Sorry, a friend of mine told you about another Irish friend of mine. He supports all the Florida teams: the Heat, the Dolphins, the Panthers, and yeah, he just said to me like, "I've always had interest in 2 Miami teams, so I just thought I'd adopt the rest." And I was like, "I get that."
But like I'm like that. I'm a Red Sox and Patriots fan, so I just adopted the Bruins and the Celtics.
Yeah.
I don't really care about baseball and hockey, but those are de facto my teams. And I'm not planning on changing that. Whereas like my least favorite people, by the way, and I know this does include people who are Patriots fans, people who are simultaneously Patriots fans and Yankees fans. And there's a series of people in the state of Connecticut in particular who are like that. And that bugs me so much.
Coming for everyone today. I love it.
It bugs me so much. If you're in the Patriots Nation, hey, you got that one right. At least you're not a Giants or a Jets fan. But you're a Patriots fan, and then you wear a Yankees hat. I don't get that.
Actually, I'm with you, because Gone Girl, the Ben Affleck movie, they didn't film for 3 days. You know this, right?
No.
He refused to wear a Yankees cap for the character from New York. So he ended up wearing a Mets cap. That was the compromise.
Yeah. That is
Great movie, by the way. Add it to the list.
Yeah, there's a lot of those Boston type movies I need to get into. There's I do have a soft spot for the Mets. So if the Mets in the playoffs and the Yankees aren't, I will root for those guys. But I think that's more of an enemy's enemy is my friend, because we all hate the Yankees. But anyway, so that's I feel like that's enough sidetracking. Let's get on to this one, because on week 1, Sunday the 7th of September, I think the 6:00 kickoff, we will have the Las Vegas Raiders coming into town to play the New England Patriots. Interesting one. There's a lot of crossover between the blue and red and the silver and black. Tom Brady obviously is now involved with the Raiders. Josh McDaniel was with the Raiders, is now back with the Patriots. Pete Carroll, of course, is his first game as a head coach of the Raiders, former Patriots head coach from way back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of crossover in personnel here. Also, as well, I think Tom Brady is getting a statue outside Gillette Stadium, and this will be the first regular season game since that statue has been unveiled, and he's back hoping that his new team gets a victory here. Vegas at Patriots. What way do you read this?
So I tried to put down like little keynotes for each game, and I've just put balanced opener, winnable. But given how optimistic I am about the rest of the schedule, and I think Mike Vrabel was actually 2-0 against Pete Carroll in his career. There was two one-score games from Titans and Seahawks games over the years. I'm sure even someone like Andy Davis will be able to tell me. I kind of leading towards, like you said, with the whole Tom Brady thing, that maybe the Raiders might play spoiler. And sometimes the teams who finish well and make the playoffs, they don't always start strong. So I'm actually kind of leaning towards maybe, a big debut from Genty, Jacoby Myers probably coming to play spoiler, and the Raiders winning. That pains me to say. But
It's funny how I set this up as you being the optimist and me being the pessimist. I have the Patriots winning this one. I just think that it's not even about a strength of the Patriots thing and the home buzz, but you look at both teams are coming into this with new offensive coordinators, new offensive systems, right? But how long does it take to set up a new offense when the quarterback has changed? And I
true.
think with Sam Darnold, that will take an extra step. Sam Darnold isn't working with Kevin O'Connell anymore, the quarterback whisperer. He's working with Pete Carroll, who himself is trying to get
It's
a better football.
Gino. Sam Darnold's on the Seahawks.
Ah, for feck's sake! I can't believe I made that mistake. Oh my god!
I was
Oh my
like,
dear god! It's the Pete Carroll thing has completely messed up my brain there. Do you know
I
what?
was trying to stop myself, and I was like,
This is why I only got 2 questions right when I did the good teams cover mastermind thing during the week. I just something was sitting in his chair.
I was already glancing at my game 2 Dolphins notes. I heard Sam Darnold. I was like, why are we talking about Sam? I was like, he saw a ghost for the Jets years ago on that famous was it Monday Night Football game?
Yeah. My general point still stands when you're changing the quarterback, and there's a lot more that needs to be changed. And I look, Geno Smith probably has obviously a greater link with Pete Carroll than Sam
That is
Darnold
why I
would.
think they might win, by the way. So you actually did inadvertently set that up well. I do think that obviously because of that, it will be a more seamless transition. Even though I don't have high hopes for the Raiders season overall, I just think that sometimes, look, we beat the Bengals last year in week 1.
Yeah, see, that's the main thing I want to dig in on. The Patriots, I think, because they're a very physical football team, I think they're actually stronger the earlier they are in the season than they are the later they get on, because there's a bit more wear and tear about the way the Patriots play. And again, we saw that in Cincinnati. We even saw that in the first couple of games last year against Seattle. With
Yes, yes.
In week 2, when I thought the Patriots put up a better show than their skills reflected, if you know what I mean. Like I thought
Yeah.
defensively they were very strong. So I had the Patriots winning that game against Geno at quarterback, which I obviously knew. I definitely did know. Fuck's sake. Week 2 at the Miami Dolphins. Tua is 7-0 against the New England Patriots. Will it be 8-0 if he's fit?
Do you know what? I obviously feel like I did know that stat, but I dislike the Dolphins that much that I'd erased it from my brain. And anyone who watches the video version will have seen my face drop when you said 7-0. So on my list, spoiler alert ahead, we're beating the Dolphins twice this season. They're not good. But it's one of those games where the defense just has to step up. And this is a big opportunity, obviously, for Mike Vrabel to sort of put his stamp on, being hard to beat, because we know how quick their offense can be and the way that Mike McDaniel operates. But I just think, even though it's on the road and that I potentially might be at that game, obviously there's a bit of selfishness there, that I hope it would be a win.
So this is the first Pat's Pals podcast coming to you live from Hard Rock Stadium, Miami. I was also thinking about doing a watch party for Irish fans on that week, try and get a few of them into a bar in Dublin as well. So we both could be active for that game. And I think the reason why is because I'm targeting it as a win against a divisional rival. I'm not high on Miami. Now, if Miami are going to win any games, they're going to win it in September when Tua is still fit.
Yeah.
We can't guarantee that once they start playing. Because if Tua's gone, like the Miami don't have a team, basically. That's just the way they've set up. They were completely shut up in that last year. But also that home field advantage when one sideline is 40 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than the other,
Yeah, exactly.
and it's the away sideline. The Patriots will be wearing their dark navy, and the heat will be getting on them. That will be a tougher challenge than, for example, when Miami have to come to New England in January. But I still think that this could be one that the Patriots can win and win pretty convincingly as well. Whatever happens in week one, win or loss, I think this is definitely a game that Vrabel and Co could be able to target because they need to reverse the narrative around Tua Tagovailoa. They need to start getting a proper stamp on the AFC East again against a rival who are on the downslope. Miami are definitely on the downslope this year. I think there are a few things more certain about this NFL season coming is that Miami will be worse than certainly they were 2 seasons ago. So I'm with you. I think I know I don't see Miami as big of my hatred level rivals as you do. My face doesn't drop as the way it does when we talk about the Jets, for example. But I definitely think this is a win here. So what have you got there? You've one win and I've one win. So I have to mark it on my book.
Yeah, hang on. I should do it. But yeah, you're at 2-0, Mr. Optimist, and I'm at 1-1 now.
I am a 2-0. My God.
Here he goes.
Week 3 at home to the Dublin-bound Pittsburgh Steelers is the last game the Steelers will be playing before they go to play in Dublin. The tickets for which are available this week for anybody who is interested in going. Not the cheapest in the world, but hey, how many times do you get to see the NFL take place in the Emerald Isle? I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start in this one, right? If we can't put Aaron Rodgers in the old folks' home in this game at home, then what's the point in following the season? I'm not high on Aaron Rodgers at all. I saw him play.
I'm with you, by the way.
I watched a
Yeah.
lot of. I watched a decent amount of Jets games last year. I think he's toxic to a dressing room, even with Mike Tomlin in there. I think his stats overplayed his actual quality of play from last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it will take longer than we expect for him to sort of build into that offense. I think the Steelers can be heavily relying on the defense again this year, and that's still their strength, and that's still the bit I'm worried about as a Patriots fan coming into this game. But like we were there when the Jets played against the Vikings in London last year. Do you remember how long it took Aaron Rodgers to get up every time he got hit? And that
It's
was a
like,
year. That was a year
yeah.
ago. There's a year of not strength and conditioning himself properly, as I don't think he would have, because he spent too much time dithering and going on podcasts and standing on beaches and talking about everything other than football and thinking about everything other than football that would only come in now. And this week in Patriots minicamp or in Pittsburgh minicamp, what is he doing? He's moaning about the feckin' helmets. Like,
Yeah, because he's got for the first time in his career, he's got the new style or something, hasn't he?
yeah,
Yeah.
like I genuinely think that he's coming into Foxborough week 3, potentially 2-0, if it is as we see it, even if it's 0-2, whatever. That has to be a game that the Patriots defense and the strength that's on it, whether it's a Gonzalez getting a turnover, which is quite easily
Yeah.
done, or just hitting the quarterback hard and getting back at Aaron Rodgers, who, in fairness to him, last year on a Thursday Night Football, before the Jets completely self-imploded, was shown out the Patriots for being what they were in a game when we thought the Patriots could be competitive-ish last season in a lot of games. And it was Aaron Rodgers coming out on Thursday Night Football and showing that the Patriots actually don't have the intensity to keep up defensively. Surely there's something in that locker room which sees Aaron Rodgers says, okay, now is my time to go and take you down. So I'm putting the Patriots to win on that one, but I think it's more because I want it than I think it's going to happen. But I'm putting a win on that one.
Do you know what is paining me here is that DK Metcalf obviously had such a big game against us last season. And see, I wrote things down like almost because I wanted to keep it fluid and like not locking into. I want to hear your points before committed to a win or a loss, even though I have an overall record in my head which we can get to. I just feel like that potentially they might steal one. We've beaten the Steelers. This is the thing. I don't like the Steelers. The Steelers, the Giants, and the Dolphins are the 3 teams that I don't like. So I probably need to
pin your colors in the mass as early as possible. I don't like you, and if you're a fan of these teams, I don't want you to listen to our show. Which is not the case, by the way.
Come and listen so that you could just absolutely trash me when you beat us. I just think that potentially I always go against the Steelers every year to say, oh, this is going to be the year that they finally, don't have a winning record. And then they find a way. And annoyingly, I reckon they might steal a win by like 3 points. A game that we look at and we go, we should have won that, but at the end of the season we'll be fine because we'll still be in the playoffs, you know. But it's like a learning curve.
Okay, so you think like this actually fits into the Patriots arc that
Yeah.
that a loss here is worth two wins down the road because of the lessons. And like say, like, am I right in saying that your vision for this, the Patriots win, or not the Patriots, the Steelers win it on like 15-12 type of scoreline?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I was thinking like a 1916 field goal heavy, you know, Drake May still getting accustomed to McDaniels' system, but then obviously that will be 0-2 at home, which I'm conscious of here, but that will set us up nicely for the next home game, and
Okay.
then a statement win against the Panthers.
Okay, you've already put your week 4 at
Sorry.
home against the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. Forgive me, by the way, I don't know the kickoff times on all these Sundays. I do know the when it's not on Sunday. So for anybody who's a real anorak for whether it's an early or late kickoff,
I've put chance
Carolina
to gel
Panthers.
offensively for us. I think the Panthers are going to be like almost a fun team to watch because they sort of had a little mini renaissance, didn't they, last year in terms of like just their fan base's opinion. I mean, of the franchise, it feels like it's actually finally turning around, and obviously they're still an underdog and a rebuild. But I just feel like that this is a chance for the Patriots to gel offensively. And if you can't beat a team that isn't a rebuild, I know we were saying last week that we are.
Yeah, we are in a
No,
rebuild.
but the thing is, like, we're in a rebuild, but we've actually got like things in place. Whereas I feel like they'll be happy to have another. Oh, you know, we were competitive in games, but we still only won like 4 or 5. Whereas if the Patriots only won 4 or 5, you'd be like, what the hell? We had all this optimism. So I think that we win this one like by at least 2 scores and
2 scores.
yeah, like 31-14 or something.
I have this chalked down as an L. I'll be honest. Right,
What?
I'll tell you why, right? Because as much as I talk about Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh will be physical, and we saw last year that after physical games, the next year the Patriots come out, they don't play their best football. And I'm actually quite high on Carolina this year. I quite liked what Bryce Young was able to do. I think Ted McMillan being their first round draft pick, and like they have Trevor Etienne, which I think is a really interesting guy they picked up in the 4th round. They have really potential to be sneakily explosive. And I'm not saying that the Panthers will come into this on any great run, but like it's the NFL, there's a sense of any given Sunday about this. I think there will be analysts in the Patriots room that will be focused on Miami, Pittsburgh, and the following week against Buffalo. That this actually some aspects of this might slip under the radar. I have I get it, but I think I've just been burned from last year because remember for many times we've done podcasts sort of predicting games, and we almost had Carolina as the perennial. Oh yeah, whoever's playing against Carolina is going to win. And they actually proved this, they proved to be a much trickier outfit after their trip to Germany last year when they came back. They ran the Chiefs close, they ran the Buccaneers close, they beat the Saints. And I think the Panthers could be a sting in the tail here. So,
Okay.
is there a game we've agreed on yet? The only thing we've agreed on is that because you lost to Pittsburgh. Well, we agreed on Miami. We did agree on Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm waiting for the change in the records because last week you were saying that you weren't optimistic, but you're really optimistic at the moment.
I mean, look at the schedule so far. I mean, come on, we're 4 weeks in. I have us at 3-1, and you have us at 2-2. Like there's plenty of season left to go.
Yeah.
And
Do you know what the funny thing was? Sorry, in the week when we'd said, "Oh, let's prep it," I was looking at. I'm going, we could be 4-0 here, and
that's what Brockman had. Brockman had us at 4-0 at this point.
Admittedly, as a fan, when I try to not look at it objectively, if we weren't 3-1, I might be a little bit annoyed. But if we're 2-2, and it's like I said, we've had a couple of close losses, I think that's part of the narrative of we're learning, and we'll use that later in the season to start getting some closer wins as opposed to losses. Because there are obviously a lot of young guys on the offense, right? I don't think it's going to click instantly.
Yeah, good point. Sunday Night Football at the Buffalo Bills. This is the Sunday of one of the London games as well, so I don't know how it comes to us as to how late we're still going to be up. Do you try to stay up for the primetime games?
Oh yeah,
generally. Like I do when the Patriots are playing. I'm not. I don't.
I try to watch all of them. Fantasy football, betting. It's all keeping me awake at night.
Yeah, I don't do fantasy football or betting. I just watch the games, and I was like, I'll catch up. What Thursday Night Football, Titans, Jags. I'll catch up on that tomorrow. It's fine. But it's an interesting one because the Bills are the cream of the AFC East. Um, we were talking last week about Stephon Diggs and what sort of insights he'll have in trying to take down Josh Allen.
Yeah.
This is going to Buffalo. It's a primetime game. Where's the optimism in this one? If you're the optimist now, you're looking at this one. Is there much to be found?
I actually think, even though it's like I've obviously stating the obvious here, a huge challenge, tough road test. So I know this is giving. I've said we're going to beat the Dolphins twice. In my head, to make the playoffs, you've got to be minimum 4-2 in your division, right? And I think that sometimes people think we all guilty of going, oh well, the Bills are at home, they're going to win. And then, in Gillette, they got a chance later in the season. But I actually think this is the perfect opportunity because to make a statement win. If we're coming off of a win over the Panthers, people go, oh, well, they're not that great. But I think walking into, it's going to be our first time, bright lights, prime time, Vrabel's there. And he does rise to those occasions. I mean, look at even when he was the Titans coach and they beat us. And then obviously they beat the Ravens. I think if we can sort of establish an identity at that point, I'm going to go upset win.
Yeah, my problem with this one is the fact that the Bills are coming into this off the back of playing the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Saints, and none of those are really tough challenges that will wear them down. If we caught them after the week after playing, but if we caught them a week after playing the Ravens, and even if they beat the Ravens and are still on a buzz, and we can try and shut that down, then fine. But the previous week, Josh Allen managed to rest in the fourth quarter because they put 30 points up in New Orleans, and
I just think we can catch them off guard.
You think?
Yeah, I just think that, and maybe like what was the famous Belichick coaching where we were only threw the ball 3 times with Matt Jones and and ran it 40 odd times. Okay, the playoffs didn't end as well as that, obviously, but I just feel like Vrabel at that point, he's clearly a coach where he has thrived in big moments against better teams. And I think this would be the perfect one. Look, even if we failed to, obviously, the way my prediction going would be 2 and 3, but I just think that's a perfect chance to then get ahead, and then that's when the momentum would start to build because people go, "Oh, you beat Buffalo."
So you have the Patriots winning at Buffalo. I don't. I think that the challenge is going to be too much. I'm quite high on what the Bills' offense can do in particular, and I don't know by the time we get there, what the defense will hold up. Week 6 at the New Orleans Saints, Sunday, October 12th.
It's an easy win.
Are New Orleans the worst team in the league?
Yeah. That's an easy win.
Yeah. I don't even know we should talk much about that. I mean, New Orleans seem to be on a path of just trying to I won't say they're purposely baiting it, but I think they're going to end up in a position where they could be, very much in the Archie Manning conversation come draft time 2026. Third road game.
Oh, guy. Sorry.
Imagine, right? You're the biggest cheese in the University of Texas, the biggest college, or one of the biggest colleges, certainly in terms of the attention and the stardom and the money. And you get told, right, you're Manning, kid. You're going to play for New Orleans. Really?
I know.
So, a bit like my namesake, Archie Manning, I'm going to waste my career in New Orleans and not win anything, but just be a class quarterback. And then are his kids or his nephews got to win Super Bowls for the New York Giants? Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, third road game in a row for the Patriots is week 7, as it is the Mike Vrabel rematch as they go to Tennessee to face against Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Interested in your view on this one, because I know you've had a chance to speak to Mike Vrabel during his time as Tennessee head coach. That's obviously a very clear storyline. We remember last year that this game was a battle between two obviously teams very much on the downward slope. Drake May had that tremendous play at the end. One of the most exciting moments of the year, but we still lost the game in overtime. A lot of things would have changed by the time we get into this game. And it's interesting to know what we can expect from Tennessee, because we don't know at this point of the season, are they starting Cam Ward a quarterback? Are they playing Will Levis for a few weeks and then trying to bring Cam Ward in? I don't know to what point of their development arc they will be at by the time we roll into Tennessee. And that could make things a little bit more of a banana skin than many people realize.
I just think obviously Vrabel knows that franchise inside out, and obviously it's completely different to when they had AJ Brown back in the day, Derek Henry. But I'm always on the side. I mean, if I'm turning around saying there's a narrative that we're going to lose to the Raiders in week 1 because of Brady, Pete Carroll arc, I'm more than confident that we should be able to go into Tennessee and him show them what they're missing. And again, like I said, when I'm saying about, I just feel like Vrabel is a guy who'll get his players up for games that he's particularly keen on. And it will be those big games or games like this where you'd be like, well, you fired me after I basically had probably one of the best run in the franchise's history, other than that Super Bowl that they lost to the Rams. So he'll be like, you know what? Have that.
If Mike Vrabel comes out and says the words, have that, I just like this whole, like, like the neck thing that people do when they're like, all right,
Yeah.
I will. That won't happen, but it would be hilarious if it did.
Instead of like run the rock, it's like, have that, you so-and-sos.
I just think my thing with October and rookie quarterbacks is, if Cam Ward is starting for Tennessee early on, which I think is what they should do. I don't know if it is what they're going to do, but it's what they should do. I think this is the part of the year when he starts hitting his stride. And I know we can look at the Bryce Young situation and say, well, that didn't quite work out there. We can look at, Caleb Williams, say, well, he wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders. Obviously Drake May, even though he was doing great, you could talk about how great Drake May was playing, but you need the team, and Tennessee, they now have the quarterback, don't have the team. I have a bad feeling about this game. I can't quantify it with stats as the reason why Tennessee will win this. I think there's potential for it to be very close.
Okay.
But I'm going with Tennessee in that one.
So that means we're both at 4-2.
4-2. What are we? We're 7 games in, so trying to
5-2. Sorry, yeah. Do you know what? The Saints are that bad. I forgot we were even going to beat them.
The Saints are that bad. I didn't even chalk them. Yeah, because I have wins against
5-2,
2-3.
Yeah, I've got Raiders and Steelers losses, and the rest wins.
I'm 4-3 because I've lost to Carolina, lost to Buffalo, and lost to Tennessee.
Oh God, yeah. The pessimistic. I can't even say pessimistic Pang because that's not me. I was a pessimistic Brennan.
The pessimistic Pats, pal. That's it's hello and welcome to the pessimistic Pats. My God, aren't we awful? It's a Carter Buterschmidt bit. So yeah, I'm at 4-3, and you're at
5-2
wins against. You're 5-2. Your only losses are against
Steelers and Raiders.
Steelers and Raiders. You just don't like teams that wear black. Is that it?
Well, yeah, but also like they are the hard to beat teams. Pete Carroll, Tomlin teams that I just think a young team will get found out early. But teams like not found out and that we're not good, but like again, learning experiences to go, and then that's when you should be beating the, no disrespect, but the lesser teams in terms of quality.
No disrespect.
Not that the Bills are one of those. Right. Obviously, they're probably the only team there where that's just because, why not?
Yeah, in fairness, we are 7 weeks in, and the only Super Bowl contender we played against is the Buffalo Bills, and
we beat them. So look at us.
Like, it ain't getting much better because week 8 we're at home against the Cleveland Browns. Win.
They're poor. A poor 2024 team. That's a win.
Yeah. Would Shador play in Foxborough? I wonder. Or are we getting a bit of Flacco?
Hopefully Dylan Gabriel. Give him a go. My mate from Oregon.
University of Oregon fandom strikes again. I keep forgetting. I feel so bad because I keep forgetting about him. And he actually could end up being like the best guy in that room because we talk so much about Kenny Pickett and Shador Sanders for obviously reasons. Yeah. Joe Flacco is 40. And like, unlike the toxic Aaron Rodgers, he's very much of a I don't give a F type character. I'm just going to sling the ball, which I respect. Yeah. But no, week 9 against the Atlanta Falcons as we hop into November in Foxborough. It's going to be cold for those boys in Georgia to be coming up north. Memories, of course, of Super Bowl 51, which I imagine will take up a lot of the buzz around this. But will Michael Penix be able to get the job done on the field? I find it very tricky to read the Falcons. I find it very tricky to read the Falcons. I don't know what to expect from them. Like, they could be in the push for the top of the NFC South. They could completely drop out because they have a decent set of skill position players.
They do.
Do you know what I mean? It's if you talk about Drake London and Bijan Robinson, we've seen play. I'm looking forward to seeing the Falcons play against the Colts in Berlin. I'm very much looking forward to that and seeing the difference between them and when I can't even remember who's the quarterback when the Falcons played against the Jags in Wembley 2 years ago.
Well, it wouldn't have been Cousins. It would have been Desmond Ridder.
Desmond Ridder. But
Yeah,
he made such a minute impact in that game that I think that it's
one of the
blunted
worst performances I've seen for. Yeah,
yeah, it's blunted my sense. And I think that unlike the Kirk Cousins storyline from last year when it went from high to low quite quickly, I trust Penix a bit more to build in, but I don't know. I think
I'm
it'd be
actually
tough.
quite high on them. The way that you were saying with the Panthers, I'm optimistic for the Falcons because of this. I think Penix's arm talent with those skill guys that you mentioned, and I like Morris, the head coach. I think this is one where there might be a bit of a mini upset. And of course, I've got us at 6-2 at this point. You need a bit of a reality check. Sometimes it can happen when you're at home and everybody does say like, "Oh yeah, well, what are they going to come in and do?" Like, I just think that it could be one of those where we go, "Oof, that was an upset." They are a manageable opponent, but I think they've got enough talent on the team to cause anyone on their day offensively. I mean, I think they could be an exciting team to watch. So sadly, and I love Robinson. I know you already spoke about that.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yeah, and interesting as well, before this game, the Falcons play at home to the Miami Dolphins. So they basically have coming off a bye week, after playing that. That's terrible. It's funny though. They're twice this season I can see that a team plays the Patriots before going to Europe because the Steelers played the Patriots before coming to Dublin, and then the Falcons played the Patriots before going to Berlin the following week. So
That works out well. That's for us.
There's a nice little stat. Exactly. Yeah. So we'll be fresh off watching them by the time we go see them in Berlin, which I certainly hope you will. Where do you land on that one? Is remind me, is that a win or a loss?
I lost. So
Yeah,
I'm going 6-3.
I'm going for a loss as well. So I'm at 5-4. It's just that tricky time of year. The Tom Brady Derby is next in week 10 as the Patriots go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because you smiled when I called it the Tom Brady Derby, and I could sense the pain that still recently that somebody else could have Tommy other than us. What way do you see this one going?
I think, do you know what? I don't mean any disrespect to Mr. Bowles, but do you know, actually, when I was looking towards the end of the season about who the Patriots' new head coach is going to be, it rings in my, I mean, only like 30 people like this post on Reddit. So please don't put this as a Buccaneers fan base narrative. But there were a lot of people going, oh, we should replace him with like a Vrabel or a Belichick or a Pete Carroll. I think there's still a bit of unknown about Todd. And I feel like as much as I, love Baker Mayfield, one of the few people, as I always throw out, to predict the redemption arc of Baker Mayfield, I quite like our chances. But I think it's two, at this point in the season, mid-tier teams who would be on similar records, who would have ambitions of the playoffs, close contest, but I would go for like a 6-point win.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you on this because I think the Buccaneers have the potential to top the NFC South, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be stellar, but they can be tricky when you play against them. And look, are you coming into a time of year when they started to reach into their to reach into the time when they're getting into a bit of a rhythm? Because we remember last year that the Buccaneers, I think, were sometimes could be remarkably inconsistent. I remember a game against the Saints last year when it was a ridiculously high scoring game. I can't even remember, but like the second half and first half were just two completely different instances, and they're coming off the back of playing the Saints and the Lions coming into the Patriots. So they might, there's a bit of a mix going in that one, but I think the Patriots can win that one. It's funny because you think that the natural pessimist could see that a win, but I mean, like the Buccaneers have drafted a lot on offensive line.
Yeah.
Like, does that indicate, obviously, Baker Mayfield, and he is quite good at improvising, but is there an opportunity there for the Patriots defense to, if not get at the quarterback, but contain him in such a way that our cornerback room, which is, I think, one of the stronger elements of our defense, can get a key turnover, can get a key score. So I'm quite high. I think that one is an interesting one. Right. Week 11, Thursday night football. The New England Patriots at home against the New York Jets.
I love the Curb Your Enthusiasm music.
Oh my god. In case anybody didn't copy our first episode, one of the things myself at Skye bonded on is our love of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which of course stars Larry David, famous Jets fan, of course. But to
Imagine we
see
could
him,
watch a game with him. Ah,
that would be that. I think we should pitch that. This game Thursday Night Football. Fly over to meet him in his house in LA, and he's just there. It's like, but there's a great bit. It's not in a season you've seen,
mm.
but there's a great bit anyway where it's
Oh,
just where
I
I
feel
said,
you. I feel like I might have seen the clip.
yeah, where he's just like, I can't believe that's what we used to say. Talk about disappointment, and that's what we used to say. Was the Jets games together? There's a consistent level of disappointment under
Yeah,
the Jets and Larry David. And it's funny that the Jets put up a post during the week, but they're celebrity fans, and then this Larry David is standing there in his usual style in a very loose fitting cap. But he always seems to be there. I actually hope he's at this game because he always seems to be there at the comically funny moments in New York sports because he was in Madison Square
the
Garden
Halliburton
on game
game.
game when Halliburton put that shot. If anybody hasn't seen it, please look it up. Right,
And he gave it
Halliburton
the
hits the shot, it goes up and then into the bucket, and then the Indiana Pacers tie the game, send it to overtime, and he's doing the whole choke thing, which is a reference to the Pacers Knicks rivalry from the 90s.
yeah.
And there's a clip going around on Twitter which just has Larry David and Susie Essman, who plays Susie Green in the show, sitting beside each other in their Knicks gear. It's like, what the hell has happened here? And then the music cuts in over it, and it's just so funny. So no, I definitely hope he's there. In terms of what happens on the field, though, um, we used to have 99 problems when we had problems, which wasn't very long. But the end of the Bill Belichick era, when we started to have problems, beating the Jets wasn't one of them. And it really annoying with the last game of the Bill Belichick era was a
Mm,
loss at home to the New York Jets. And last year
yeah,
we semi-fixed that because at least the record in Foxborough was turned around as a 25-22 win. But at that point, that was
mm,
Jets post firing of Robert Saleh, which was a stupid decision that came
yeah,
after just after we saw them play in London. So what intrigues me about this time of year, though, with the Jets, and I think the Jets could be sneakily good this year. And as much as I was
I
rubbing my
agree.
hands, and I think they had the potential to be sneakily good because there's still elements of the talent there. The defense, I think, last year probably didn't show themselves off as good as it could have been, but losing Robert Saleh does that. They now have a defensive coordinator which has the long term effort to tweak it in. So by the time the Jets come into this game, Aaron Glenn has had 10 games, unless there's a bye week in between. I'm not sure there is. He's had 10 games and a trip to Europe with his team, trying to put his stamp on things. The defense could be strong. The way that the team could maybe try to find its own identity. And this is at the arc of the Jets story where before ownership starts tampering and makes things bad, because ownership generally finds a way with the Jets to
Of
mess
getting
things up,
involved.
to get
Yeah,
involved in ways they shouldn't be getting involved. And that's a frustration a lot of Jets fans have, and I understand that. And I know a lot of Jets fans. I've talked to a lot of Jets fans. I was born in New York. Um, so a lot of people I know and talk to are sort of big Jets fans, and they hate that aspect of it. My big question mark with them, though, is what's Justin Fields going to be like?
yeah.
Because we saw last year in Pittsburgh, and I think we saw it in Chicago as well, that he's capable of having a very good month. I don't know if he's capable of having a very good season.
I like
So
that.
so
Good
when we get so when
narrative.
we
Yeah.
get to week 11 on a Thursday night game after a quick turnaround, and I'm not sure who the Jets played the week beforehand. Like, is that an opportunity for the Patriots to strike? I'd like to think it is. So I'm going for a win in this game.
I'm going for a loss.
Woo!
Simply because it's a short week, and I think Aaron Glenn's the perfect sort of head coach who can come in and cause an upset. And I think the team will have their identity established then. I still obviously like our chances overall throughout the whole season, but I just think it's one of those games where, like, yeah, I don't know. I get worried about short weeks for some reason.
In fairness, like that's good. The last year we played these two teams played against each other on Thursday Night Football, and it's like the Patriots hadn't slept in a week.
Yeah,
That's the way they played, and the Jets just walked all over them. And they weren't even that good, but they'd walked all over the Patriots. That
yeah,
was
they
in
were
MetLife.
actually not great at all, but it was embarrassing that we lost.
So I'd like to think that there is motivation there to turn that around and walk all over the Jets in return. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Like it's a long time since. And like the Jets are coming into this after playing at home against the Browns. So not to repeat my joke from earlier about the Dolphins, but,
But I'm at 7-4 now.
You're at 7-4. What am I? I'm also at 7-4. I think I am at 7-4.
See, even though I said to you I hadn't, I know where I'm going, but I feel like I'm waiting for for where this is going with you.
Do you know what? I'm actually just realized that my general pessimism of the Patriots has definitely been counterbalanced with the fact that we play a lot of mid teams.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
and
mean?
you've got me smiling every time you say an opponent as well. I'm like, come on, Shane.
Well, I ain't smiling this one. Week 12, Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I imagine, will want to get revenge on us beating them in week 1 last year. Doesn't necessarily mean that they will, but the problem is week 12 is usually when Cincinnati start cooking, or like that time of year. And I like Joe Burrow, not just because he's a good-looking man who's sponsored by Guinness, but I just like the way that he plays in the field as well. So I won't talk about this too much. I think it's a Cincinnati win.
I agree. I think, like you said, we came away with the win last season. Mid-season games are always tough against Joe Burrow because he always finds his stride by that point. And sadly, I think a bit of a revenge, and maybe this is where the narrative's like, oh no, they're 7-5. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, there's too much hope. Too much hope for that's Thanksgiving week, I think, isn't it? Around then,
we're getting to that point, mid-November, maybe week prior or ish.
Yeah. I think that's Sunday, November 23rd. So I think that's the Thanksgiving week. I think.
Oh yeah, because the Giants game's 1st of December, actually, the one we're about to come on to. Yeah.
I love how you know that. Straight away.
Yeah, it's marked on the calendar.
Imprinted in your brain is like that's
I
when you play the Giants.
Then yeah.
Okay, Skye, week 13, looking for some at home against the New York Giants on Monday Night Football, December the 1st. Go.
I'm going to have everything fucking ready for this one. So the Jack Daniels, the wings, it's going to be there. There was, oh my God, there was a video on like my Facebook memories recently of when we won at MetLife on a field goal against the Giants. I think it was the year when we were going undefeated and steady along. Might have been the one where we end up losing to Brock Osweiler's Broncos, and then obviously that AFC title year. And that meant so much to me to beat the Giants. And it's going to happen again. And the fact that it's quite set up nicely, right? Because there's optimism for the Giants as well, a little bit, I feel like. Even though I say
So in the Irish NFL show, there's 7 of us on the team. 3 of them are Giants fans, and I think that Jackson Dart is definitely causing a bit of a buzz among them. So by the time
I agree.
So by the time we get to week 13, like what's he going to be like? Coming out of Ole Miss, is he the next Eli Manning?
I really like him as well.
Is he the next Eli Manning? Is he the next guy that's going to haunt the Patriots' dreams for years on end?
Well, not in week 13, he's not.
Because you have a win. So you have a win on Monday Night Football for the New England Patriots at home.
Gonzo's going to lock down neighbors. Done.
Ooh. I shouldn't know where I sit in this one. I think the Giants are going to win this. I'm sorry. You've gone off screen. I think the Giants are going to win that one. I just think, again, and look, we're trying to look into our crystal ball in one of the most unpredictable sports leagues in the world. But like, is that the time of year when Jackson Dart put in a few nice performances? We know that that Brian Daboll has a decent record going into the Foxborough as a head coach.
I just think after 2 losses that obviously I've said before, you're going into a bye week next week. I'd like to hope that you can go, right, let's get a win and reevaluate in that bye.
Right. So at the bye week, 13 games in, you are at 8-5, and I'm at 7-6. Go into the bye week. What's your bye week routine, by the way?
Your bye week routine is spend even more time on fantasy football to compensate for the fact that there's no Patriots. Probably at this point of the year, would the trade deadline be closed? Yeah, probably firing that waiver budget. Yeah, firing that waiver budget away. Starting to troll a few people about how they're useless. Not in their lives. Sorry, just to fantasy football.
I'm glad you
clarification there. No, my bye week routine is, I guess obviously it depends on the time of the year, and at this point of the year is usually when I'm in Grinch mode because I'm not a Christmas guy.
Are you not a Christmas guy? No.
No, I don't know. It's overrated. I mean, The Grinch is a great movie though.
So what you're telling me is your biopic routine is you're going to sit at home and watch The Grinch.
Yeah, and maybe The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay, I'm actually just looking at the
And
games.
oh, sorry, go on.
Like like
I'd set myself up there. I'm gonna say it in
hang
a
on,
second.
hang on, right? I think bye week, December the 7th, right? We should meet up and we should watch Jets versus Dolphins. You in a
Okay,
Jets jersey, me in a Dolphins jersey, because I hate the Jets and you hate the Dolphins. And whoever wins is to do some class for forfeit.
okay, yeah, why not?
Because you have a weird thing with the Jets. You kind of like the Jets. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know what. I think it's because I just don't like the Giants that much, and I kind of just always
So
don't. I kind
it's,
of, do you
it's
know why? Because I've done two games at MetLife, and the Jets
okay.
fans are kind of deluded, but also like it's the
Kind
back and
of.
forth.
There's no kind of about it.
It's because I don't feel I told. So the game where the first one I went to, and we come back from like 17, 20 points and won, and there was a controversial call. I remember this woman next. I can't do a good New Jersey accent. But she was like, if it
You
wasn't
could
for your
try.
accent, right, then I would be like attacking you right now, is basically what she said to me word for word. And
She
I got
basically said that because you're in a Patriots jersey that she wanted to like cause you physical harm.
yeah, but because of my British accent, she loved it and was like, it's fine, you can cheer for these Gronk touchdowns. And I was like, okay, thank you. Thank you
Whereas if you,
very much.
so if you had a New England accent as opposed to an English accent,
It might have
forget
kicked
about it.
off.
You'd be you'd be looking for that free healthcare. That's like, Jesus. Anyway,
Shout out to her, wherever she is, 9 years later.
wherever she is, week 15. So we're talking about one NFC East matchup. The next one is on week 15 as the Buffalo Bills come to Foxborough on Sunday, December the 14th. Um,
You go.
compare this to your read of the week 5 game because I'm very high in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Coming off a bye week, does that give the Patriots a boost because of rest, or does it kill it because of lack of momentum? I think the Patriots benefit more from rest than they lose from lack of momentum. If you understand what I'm trying to say,
I'm actually the other way on this.
You prefer this book before the bye week?
Yeah, I think because of me saying that obviously a couple of losses and then a win, I think you think, oh, like, as much as a fan in the moment, I go, oh, it's good that we've got a rest after a win. You want to play again soon. And I'd think that the Bills, I mean, that's one team that you don't want to start even cold against. And the fact that I've already got them down for a win, for us to beat them obviously earlier in the year, I think we split the series. And Josh Allen's good in cold weather, isn't he? Because he's used to it. So it's not like that's going to throw him off.
He's very good. He is very good. And I don't know. I just think the Bills are going to be too difficult to beat this year. I just do for both games.
So you still think
Like,
a loss, even though
yeah, I think a lot. I think in the reverse of you though. I understand what you're trying to say that the Patriots might come in cold, and then who knows what the Buffalo. I think the first half we could be. I think we'll show ourselves good in the first half, but the further we get onto the game, the more that the gap in quality shows itself, and the Buffalo wins. That's how I see that game going. So you have this down as a loss.
yeah.
So what are you at now?
Uh, 8-6.
8-6. Yeah. All right. Interesting. At the Baltimore Ravens, the Sunday before Christmas, and all through the house.
We're gonna give them our nightmare before Christmas.
Ooh, you think we're gonna win that game?
Yeah,
Why?
because you remember Vrabel and Harbaugh had that big well, I say spat. They laughed it off when I was gonna mess up his surname, Tom, and his surname with a P, who works with NFL.
Pelissero.
Yeah. He was like, who would win in a fight between those two? And then they spoke about it like on the field. But like Vrabel has done well against the Ravens over the years. And I think that, even though it's a different team, different players, you see a guy on the opposite sideline who's given you headache before. And I think he can get a win. And I know a lot of people would, even in the moment, if I was doing weekly picks and said that, people
So,
would laugh.
so Mike Vrabel's record against the Ravens is 7-3 as head coach, which I think is pretty impressive because the Ravens are a tough team to beat.
That's a lot of games, though, for a 6-year spell. I wonder if that might be including player things. But he definitely had some big wins. Like the one I always think of is, like I was saying, the one I alluded to earlier. After they obviously beat us in Brady's last game at Gillette, they then beat the Ravens, didn't they, the week after to make the title game?
Yeah, it says it's Mike Vrabel record versus every team with head coach's career. Now, I'm not sure. It hasn't clarified in this whether that includes
He definitely has some big wins over
preseason.
Harbaugh, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think if this is in Foxborough, I'll give us a chance. But it's in Baltimore at a time when Baltimore are coming off the back of playing against the Bengals, and either they really need to win because the Bengals have put themselves in the driving seat for the AFC North, or they want to try and keep in the driving seat after beating the
I'd be
Bengals.
so happy if we help the Bengals as well.
But either way, I just think that that's a mentality that I don't think we can overcome, and it's a strength of team I don't think we can overcome.
Oh, I've got it here. Sorry.
Go for it.
2019 divisional playoffs. It says Titans win 28-12. Major postseason upset. 2020 regular season, Titans win 30-24 in overtime. I think that's the game I was talking about with the fighting thing. And then apparently then there was a loss in the 2020 wild card. So he's 2-1 as a coach against Mr. Johnny.
Mr. Johnny. So, but you have that as a win though for New England.
Yeah, this is where our momentum's coming, Shane. This is it now.
So I have us coming off the back of 2 losses there, but whatever. I'm looking at week 17 and 18, and I think those are 2 tasty games. Week 17 at the New York Jets. Win. Just win, baby.
We're in double digits now.
That'll be Christmas come again. We beat the Jets by like 20 points.
The night man cometh.
I'm interested now because if, as we're predicting right now, which could be remarkably naive, but
yeah, where are you at this point? Because I'm 10-6 now.
So yeah, if you include the Jets win, I'm at 8 wins. So I don't know. So that's 8 and
10-6, 8 and 8,
8 and 8, right? And you're at 10-6, right? So what that means,
Jason Garrett there, the 8 and 8, the man known for 8 and 8 seasons. So,
but what that means going into MetLife here, right? Is the Patriots will have something to play for, and I can guarantee the Jets won't. So give us the win.
This is why a revenge thing of like, okay, you've caught us sleeping on that Thursday night game, but now we've just come off of a win against Baltimore. You know, like we're going to go into your home now and we're going to get our revenge. So have a bit of that. Again, Mike Vrabel going Cockney.
All right. You know, East Ender Vrabel here. You know, Millwall Mike would be calling him.
Millwall Mike. Win.
I haven't even said what the last game is.
Oh no, sorry. I was just still getting excited.
Oh, you're talking about the Jets.
Oh wait, we know what the next one. We know.
Week 18 in January, either January 3rd or January 4th. Probably will be the Sunday. Miami Dolphins. And it's interesting. Looking back, you know, you ever see these videos about Kevin Harlan's greatest calls of his career? Remember when he was calling 2 games at the same time when the Dolphins were playing and the Chiefs ended up getting the number 2 bye? Just a few memories of playing against the Dolphins in the last day of the season.
Even though the Dolphins cling on to that, how they beat us, and we still went to Arrowhead.
It's like Spurs fans. We put the pressure on. Yeah, Liverpool won the league. You know that's it.
It's so annoying. Like, oh my God, that we had the miracle. It's like, yeah, and then we won the Super Bowl. So what are you on about? What the? Yeah, bloody Dolphins.
Bloody Dolphins. I have a win here against whoever the. I would not be surprised if an interim head coach is in charge of Miami at this point.
Yeah, and Daniel's embraced his mafia life by then, or his, you know.
Yeah. So you have a win there. So you have.
We're 11-6. This is why
you have the Chris Brockman thing, and I'm 9 and 8.
When I guessed at the beginning,
yeah,
I did think, I was like, oh, he's optimistic, maybe 12, and I was like, no, I had like a really good interaction with Chris in New Orleans, and I feel like we were quite aligned on how things could go in the season. So yeah, I always had 11-6 in my head. It was just how I was going to get there, but I think I've painted quite a nice storyline.
Yeah. It would be great if we were 11-6. It'd be awesome.
3 wins to end the season, going into the playoffs.
Here's a question though: if it's 9 and 8, is that good enough to make the playoffs in the AFC?
Do you know what, mate? Do you know 9 and 8, 8 and 9 to 9 and 8 is what most neutrals, like websites that I've read, have said
For the Patriots.
That's the more.
Yeah. And again, because of the schedule, that's roughly where I think it's going to be. Obviously, I've gone through game by game, but that's where I felt the team is at. Obviously, just before the season starts
Nine
and all
and
this
eight
stuff
could be
going to
good for
happen.
the playoffs.
Yeah, not in the AFC though, because
Oh,
you have to compete with whoever comes second in the North, who's probably going to
yeah,
have 11 games. Whoever comes second in the West, which we're not quite sure what to expect of the Chargers. And the South, I know we're not competing with anybody in the South. It
yeah,
could be
because
enough. It could be enough for the final berth.
it wasn't enough for the Bengals last year, was it? With the 9-8, because the Broncos got 10 and
Yeah,
7.
yeah. So that's the
But
thing.
if
Like
you just let them win that,
you're hoping for, in order to make that happen, right? Because you're going to get two out of the North. You're going to get the Ravens and the Bengals. You're going to get the
yeah,
Chiefs. You're probably going to get the Chargers. So the race then is so the Chargers or the Broncos. So the race then is having a better record than who comes third in the West. Because you're not getting. I don't think you're getting a second playoff team out of the South. As much as there's a lot of buzz around the
Mm.
Jags right now, and the Texans are the Texans. I don't think you're getting a second playoff team out of the South.
Do you know? Annoyingly, that would probably be a division that actually could be like a 9-8 division winner, and then
Really,
someone.
it really could be.
Yeah,
I think that probably sets them up quite well for Jacksonville as well, if it is that case.
yeah.
Jacksonville could end up going toe to toe, but like if it is a 9-8 division winner,
Oh
so
yeah, we
yeah.
go and play. Oh, what you mean? We go and play them in the playoffs, and then we're in the next round.
Jesus, so you've already gotten us. You've already well. No, hang on. So if we're at your prediction 11-6, we wouldn't be. I don't think we'd be in the 7th seed for that. Surely we'd be better at
Yeah.
11-6. It was I'm 9-8. Like I'm clinging on to the hope of a 7th seed.
Obviously, I'm still. Still, the Bills will win it. The East.
Oh yeah, clearly.
Which is why I split the series. But I
But
just think that we have enough about us to get that wild card.
but here's the thing, right? If it is 9-8 and it's a 7th seed, as I hope we will be, we're obviously playing the 2 seed. So who do we want as a 2
Yeah,
seed?
whereas I'm thinking we're the 5th seed and we play the South, which would work out nicely.
Yeah, but so who do you want as a 2 seed? Do we want the Chiefs or the Bills?
We'd probably play the Ravens again, and then if we actually beat them, they'd beat us this time, which is annoying.
Do you think the Ravens would be 2 seed? I think the Bengals and the Ravens will take enough scope off each other that whoever wins that division will be the 3.
Do you know what though? If we were the 7th seed, I think realistically, as optimistic as I've been, I think that could be a one and done because Vrabel, he's had a couple, hasn't he? Of one and done
all seasons. Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, listen. So we've gone on for an hour and 7 minutes,
sorry.
longer than we anticipated. I will not be around next week. Have you a plan as to what we want to do next week? I'm going to be in Cyprus, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Enjoy, mate. We'll discuss. Maybe we'll get on a fan of another team so I can trash the Dolphins.
I was definitely going to say that I definitely think between now and when mini camps or when proper training camp starts, we should do like a few episodes going through our 3 AFC East rivals and try to see where they are at. Have a bit of banter as well, because we need to, take out whatever trauma we have built in the last 3 or 4 years, even though we have been dishing out the trauma for the last 20. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to episode 2 of the Pats Pals podcast. Let us know what you think in the comments below or in on Twitter, on Facebook. Who uses Facebook? On Instagram, on TikTok,
and YouTube. I don't know why that turned into singing. That's twice I've sang on this episode.
I tell you. Next will be singing Chaz and Dave. Mike Vrabel singing Chaz and Dave. That's where we're going now. So yeah, listen, that's going to be very interesting. Let us know what you think. Look at the Patriots schedule. Are we too optimistic? Are we too pessimistic? Are we completely naive? Is there a 17-0 season in there? I don't know. Let us know what you think. But for now, thank you very much for listening to the Pats Pals podcast.